Did that guy actually sell me the right number? Place your bets.
Hello?
Oh, hey Celia.
Who is this?
My name's Gabriel, but that's not important right now. Important is that you like jewelry, right?
I mean, yeah,
Fantastic. Now listen, I've had an idea. What do you think about jewelry inspired by you?
By me? I guess that'd be cool, but...
Yeah, I knew you'd be on board. Now what I need of you is just a little sample, you know, to get the colors right and all that. You Kivouachians can reattach cut off limbs, right?
Whoa! Hold on a sec. What are you?
Awesome, I'll be on my way then. Bye, Celia. Yeah.
Wait. What?
Hello there and welcome to another Fen-Art resin project. In this video I'll be making rings. They're easy to make, fun to experiment with, and I'd like to expand my existing collection by making some inspired by characters of the Fennah universe. The idea came to me when I was browsing the site of my trusted pigment supplier. I saw this beautiful blue pigment paste and thought, yeah, let me grab that real quick. I know what to use that for. Unfortunately, when it arrived in the mail, it was already completely dried up. Thanks, Tip-On. This wasn't the first time this happened. Your products are awesome, but the containers are not. Albeit annoying, it's actually not that big of a deal. There is a quick and easy way to make pigment paste usable again. Just add alcohol. Booze! Fixes everything! Anyways, advertisement break! In case you just stumbled upon this video out of the blue, you are completely oblivious to what this is actually all referring to, and you keep wondering, who the hell is Celia, what's a Kivouachian, and why do I suddenly have salt in my tea? I highly recommend you to go and check out Fennah here on YouTube. He does Blender animations with all these alien characters, and he's also writing a political drama starring Celia and many others. Also visit WhatTheFlup here on YouTube or DeviantArt. She's an artist who also does animations, and some of her works are supporting Sam's creations. Alright, advertisement complete. Let's get back to ring making. The way I went about making these rings is really simple in theory, however, in practice there's a few difficulties. You'll see in a moment. And to be honest with you, the outcome is still a very beautiful rings, but they're not exactly what I was hoping for, so I'm probably gonna make another video where I try a different approach. Since the rings are based on Celia, the main color is going to be a dark, rich blue for her skin, a little white for the markings on her face, the fluff on her ears and her claws, and golden highlights representing the plethora of her own accessories. And even though her jewelry isn't technically part of her body, it is still part of her character. Plus, who doesn't like some bling, right? I decided against adding black highlights for her hair and tail, because black resin has a tendency to just take over other colors and ruin the effect. Also, trust me, handling 3 colors in one casting is already tricky enough. First off, I'm preparing all the things I need. That includes weighing and premixing the 3 batches of resin, 1 for the base and 2 for the highlights. This resin has a pretty long pot life, so there should be plenty of time to throw everything together and also tussle with the camera. And boy, was there a lot of tussling. Turns out white mixing cups and white light don't go well together, no matter how much you fumble with the camera settings. There's also going to be white resin in a white mixing cup illuminated with white light. Sorry, it's a mess. Anyways, moving on. Getting the base color right presented a challenge in itself, because this particular pigment has a habit of just refusing to become opaque. I ended up using a lot of it, plus 2 drops of blue alcohol ink, which despite making the resin opaque enough, it also made it too dark. So I added a pinch of this white pearlescent powder to brighten it up again. And of course there also needs to be glitter, so these silver alloy flakes are tossed in too. Celia is after all a very sparkly gal. After some back and forth and under careful comparison with the sample I took, the base is ready and can be set aside in order to mix the 2 highlights. These are pretty straightforward. Just some gold pigment in this one and a drop of dark yellow alcohol ink to boost the opacity. On video the color looks brighter than it actually is, in part because I screwed up the lighting for, well, most footage. I'm still not used to handling this kind of equipment. And also because I know that the color will be darker once the resin is cured, so I use the brighter gold in the mix. This particular one is called Sunshine Gold. Lastly, we have the white, which is also a two-part system, using a pure white pigment paste to get the desired opacity and a tiny amount of white pearlescent powder to give it more depth. Once all the components are added and the batches have been mixed for about 3 minutes each, they are placed in the cooking pot. I mean vacuum chamber. This is clearly a vacuum chamber, and no mom, I do not know where your cooking pot went. In here, all the air is pulled out of the resin, so we get a bubble-free casting. Also, what you can see here is no longer the air escaping, but actually the alcohol using the pigments as nucleation surfaces and boiling off under vacuum. This is what the nitrogen in your blood would do if you were to ascend too rapidly after a dive. The more you know. After about 5 minutes in the chamber, the resin is fully degassed and can be taken out for casting. Now we're finally getting somewhere. This grey lump right here is the mold I'm going to be using for this project. It enables me to cast pieces of round stock for machining in the lathe. It's also usually my dump mold where I put leftover resin from other castings. Those can be used for prototyping or simply as sacrifice material. Even the leftovers must serve a purpose, barely anything is wasted. The base is poured into the mold slowly so as to not introduce any more air bubbles into the casting. Now I can get my pipettes and start injecting the colors into the base. From this point on, it's all kinda self-explanatory. Well, this is the point where I realized the casting wouldn't turn out the way I hoped it would. You see how the gold just kind of sinks down into the blue? Yeah, that's gonna be a problem later. The white is also really not staying in position, even though it's sinking way slower than the gold. But there's no point in stopping now, and I still want to see what it'll look like at the end. So, full steam ahead! Or resin. Oh, and just as a little background information, you would not believe how much of a mess this stuff can make, so I'm constantly getting new paper towels, wiping things down and rearranging stuff behind the camera. And yes, I know, I should wear gloves and a face mask, and probably a condom too, just to make sure. I work in total disregard for my own health and safety. You know what? I don't care. Right now, I am thanking my past self for buying this exact resin because we are 50 minutes into this project and the resin is starting to thicken up. Had I bought a faster curing resin, this would not have been possible. If you think about it this way, maybe I should have waited even longer. Maybe the colors won't sink that fast if the resin is a bit less viscous, who knows? More testing required. But that's for the future. How will this casting really turn out? For me it was 2 days, but you are gonna find out right now. Yep, that's about what I expected. The gold has completely sunk into the bottom, so that's a bummer. There's also some white down there, but that's most likely from the injecting, I think. Of course, from the outside I can't tell how the rest of the colors are distributed, so without further ado, let's stuff this in the lathe and see what we find inside.
A bridge to creation, a fearful entity. Devastated is now the path of my back. The tide I was afraid to lose. And in my barricaded shrine I would never dare to relate it all to you.
I could make a shaping chisel to get really nice rounded edges, but I think that'd be too much of a fuss. The bevels I'm gonna put on here can be easily rounded over with 200 grit sandpaper, just takes a few seconds. And speaking of sanding, yeah, it's that time again. With the ring now fastened to my self-made friction clamp, I'm gonna be working my way up the grits until it's ready for polishing. I'm starting with 200 grit just to briefly round over the edges and give the outside of the ring a slightly more convex shape, followed by 1000 grit, 2000 and finally 5000. Pretty big leaps, but since there's not a lot of surface area on these rings, that's really all I need. Sanding the inside is a tricky step, but with patience and this old waterline turned into a mandrel, I somehow made it work. In case you were wondering, all in all, turning and sanding one of these rings takes roughly about an hour. With the sanding complete and the ring already looking gosh darn pretty, I can take it to the cotton wheel and give it its final shine. Of course, the inside needs to be polished too, so the waterline makes a brief return. And here they are! Me being me, I gave in to my curiosity and turned the whole entire bar of raw material into these 4 rings. I could have even made a 5th one, but that one would have just been solid gold. No white, no blue, so no point in that. Now that they're all polished, you can even kinda see the odd gold vein in there, which is kinda nice. By and large, they all look absolutely stunning, even though I think I got a little too aggressive with the white, so they got more of an ocean theme going on. This one right there is the best one in my opinion. Nice and dark, not with too much white mixed in. That's the one that's got the biggest Celia vibe to it. Alright, cue the montage.
As it all has turned into the urge to build machines and set them off to war.
And with that, we are arriving at the end of this video. Before you leave, I want to take the opportunity and hit you with another short ad. Don't go yet, just hear me out, okay? It's something personal. All throughout this video, you have been listening to music by Nepomuk, a band that I'm actually a founding member of. If homemade symphonic death metal with lots of variety is right up your alley, please feel free to visit us on Facebook, Bandcamp, or right here on YouTube. Links are all in the description. Every view, every like, and especially every comment is much appreciated. And even though there is currently somewhat of a lull in our output, let me tell you we are far from dead and there is a lot in the making for the near and far future. Thank you very much for your time. Cheers, and goodbye.